This January, our investors and I had a chance to talk with Julian Dunkerton of Supderdry. Our conversation kicked off with Julian sharing his personal philosophies and why he'd fought to return to Superdry to lead a design-driven turnaround. We discussed how his contrarian actions have seen the company expand its reach with zero incremental capital needed, and how the company is taking advantage of the current environment in order to come out of COVID stronger than ever with a very long runway for growth ahead. I hope you enjoy the following excerpts of our conversation with Julian Dunkerton.
And so maybe that transitions us into, what happened for Superdry, over the course of 17, 18, that sort of drove you sort of getting back into the business, and, help us sort of understand, at what point sort of during that 2018 period were you saying, this can't go on anymore, and I either need to step in or just completely remove this from my soul, because it seems like, as you found a business, it's part of you forever.
So okay, so I have a trusting nature in terms of I work in a way that actually I build a team and I have to work as a team. And there is no room for selfishness in my world. I can't deal with people who are self-absorbed and self-interested. I would say that I was told mistruths about the journey that the brand was taking. So okay, so basically, if you're building a brand, you have to protect that brand. And if I am Barber or Burberry, let's say I'm a Burberry, I'm Burberry the brand. My Macs are the most important things in my portfolio of products, right? If I put those on sale every year or every 6 months, I suddenly will lose the credibility and the credence of being a brand. I am turning myself into a retailer. And in essence, the short-term nature of the previous management was such that they didn't care about the longevity of the brand. They didn't care about where it was going to be in 3 years' time. All they cared about was the numbers on that day. And any fool can put a great product on sale and take money, but that is just short-termist behavior. And I have spent years building this whole business up into something that had a wonderful future, because all they had to do was keep building those building blocks of core products and keep expanding those core products to conquer the market. What they did was narrow them down. So they stopped all innovation into the brand. Put every channel had exactly the same products and then put them all on sale. Well, that isn't a recipe for success. That is a recipe for short-termism. So I warned the board what was going to happen and left. I said, I can't put my name to what you're about to do to the company. I know what you're going to do. And at the time, I made it very clear to the board exactly what was going to happen. It happened. Everything I said that was going to happen, happened. And I tried to sell far more shares than I actually sold, because I knew what was going to happen to the share price. I knew what was going to happen to the business. But it was an impossible situation at the time to do anything but to take myself away and go, I just can't be part of it. You're anyway. So then roll on, I think 2 years later, you get to a point where you see there is no intellectual understanding of the recovery. So I am sat there with 20% of the company that I understand that they have no vision of how to move back into a growth phase or understand their mistakes. They're intellectually, they weren't of our background of, there's only a few of us have done what we've done. but you have to have a particular mentality, which is long term and positive. And by what I mean is positive. You have to give to build. You can't just, if you're going to rebuild a building, you've got to do it properly. You don't do it with crap products and expect it to get the right customers or to last a long time. And so it was that basic understanding of I had to make a move, otherwise it was going to collapse. I mean, it's as simple as that. So, and I've got so much. The town that I live in is here. The company is here. It employs hundreds of people in Cheltenham, and it kind of will always represent me, if you like, and my history. So, of course, I was A, financially, and B, sort of emotionally being dragged down by this. So it came to pass that I fought my way back in. Luckily, enough shareholders backed me and the press backed me, and here I am.
Right.
And I'm back on that course of building again, and that's what I do, and that's what I love.
Right.
And the thing is, I think I like to think I know what I'm doing. I've done it for 35 years. And I really enjoy it, making great product, building a brand. That's an enjoyable place to be. So the first thing was get the product right, get the team right, get the channels right, and then you can move into a better place. And then, of course, the pandemic came.
Right. threw everything for a loop.
So, I like to think, and you saw me buy some more shares, I'm sure, this summer, this autumn. I would have bought, I wanted to buy more, but the reality is I believe in what we're doing. I believe in the product. I believe in my abilities. I believe in the team's abilities, because I'm surrounding myself by incredibly bright people. So I'm not frightened of bright people. I love bright people. Bring as many around me as humanly possible, and turn it back into a really positive growth story, which is what we will do.
I think we may have sort of touched on this, but a question, sort of to help people, everyone sort of looks at, retail or even fashion there as in one broad brush. And so the question of understanding the terms of shifting from a retail mentality to a brand mentality, and sort of the one brand, 4 styles, 9 consumer segments, and like how is that really how big of a change is that since 3 years ago, kind of thing?
Okay, no, it's huge, and that's Phil's clarity of mind, allowing that process so it's a Nike mentality that's come in and delivered a very precise. So I would have created a series of products that would have talked to different demographics, and would all be under the Superdry halo, but I wouldn't have had the sophisticated ability, or I've never done it before. So he has taken it apart and delivered a different group for each social group and age group. So if you look at, say, Sport Code, its relative comparable brands will be Fila, Champion. It's aimed for a particular age group. If you look at Studio, which is what I'm wearing, it's classic, subtly branded products that actually will resonate in a more advanced Superdry market, because in America the Studio products will not resonate as well because people haven't grown up with the brand. Right. So you're just as likely to go to J. Crew or wherever, somewhere else. So different parts of the brand are relevant to not just demographics, but what stage is the consumer on with the brand in its totality. So the UK and France and Germany, for instance, Studios is a very relevant part of the mix. And then you've got Original and Vintage, which is the core of the brand. It's really, actually plundering the past in terms of historically, these are beautiful things that have happened before. Pendleton shirts or jackets, or just wonderful, largely American brands and thought processes from the past that have now, we've re-engaged all the best parts of them and made it a coherent range. And you know, it's quite a joy and quite a lovely way of creating products, to be honest.
Right. And so maybe then, like, if, you know, thinking about those different business models and where you want Superdry to be, if we look at sort of a normalized sales experience when things open back up, I mean, and you obviously point to e-commerce as a growth, I mean, where would it be tilted online versus store and wholesale kind of going forward? Or what do you think is the right mix for this business?
So it's very interesting. So look, I believe in physical retail, so don't think that I don't. I absolutely do. But I think the relationship between the landlord and the tenant has fundamentally changed for the foreseeable future.
Right.
So the you know, there is too much space and landlords need tenants. So, you know, will there be deals that are completely different going forward? Symbiotic partnerships, for instance, with large mall landlords or whatever. So from a capex point of view, there'll be very little input for physical from a brand. Our investment has to be, in capex terms, all on e-com. So you know, how much are we investing in social marketing, digital, making the experience more coherent? Of course, that is ultimately where all the money is going to be spent, if you like. And then, of course, wholesale. As we've broadened the range and understood, we've divided the range up into multiple parts. It allows us to communicate to different consumers through different wholesale partners. So if you take vegan sports footwear, I can put that into footwear retailers, whereas somebody else will be looking at JD Sports, will be looking at our sport leggings and our bra tops for
Right.
women's fitness. Our sophisticated and minimal product can go into a different wholesale consumer. You know, we're dealing with Nordstrom's with a part of our business that didn't exist a year ago. So we are communicating with our consumers in a much broader sense through these wholesale customers. So wholesale expanding through dividing up style choice and product areas. E-com, obviously a massive part of our investment going forward, and you know, our whole marketing. So you've seen Neymar, probably doesn't mean as much in America as it does in the rest of the world, but we all love football.
For sure.
And you know, he's top three in the world. So 140 million followers, very important. And actually what the deal is a single product area deal. And that is a very clever way for us to actually expand our ability to communicate with the public, because that is a much cheaper way than trying to do the umbrella of a brand ambassador, which is much harder.
For sure. Now, a crucial element of sort of what you came in on the turnaround is basically getting the full price mix, you know, back to where it was, and obviously shifting from, you know, a 4-season to 2-season, and I guess with e-commerce now and that channel, I mean, help me understand how easy or hard it is really to reset a consumer's perception of what they should be willing to pay full price for.
So actually, America obviously is you know, they've been in that spiral of discounting for much longer than Britain. So Britain is, you know, a later adopter of that thought process. Look, this is about creating desire. It's about creating value for money. I think the reality of say the American market now is, even when a product is discounted, is it really value for money? And I think there will always be a return now. You know, it's time for a return to going, actually, this is worth this money. You know, I know why I'm buying it and what I'm buying it for. So, you know, we a year ago were 49% full price at this point. We're now 61%. We're on a journey. Gross margins up 5 or 6 points currently online. So we're on a journey of rebuilding back into that brand mentality. So don't get me wrong, we're still going to reduce our stock holding because I inherited too much stock in this business, and we've been on a path. And even during this pandemic, we've actually reduced our stock holding, which I think is quite a feat, bearing in mind that actually there's an eight-month lead time on product. But you will see that thought process rebound and be a brand building thought process from now. So, you know, the first 6 months of the pandemic, nobody knew what we were looking into. So I was looking at preserving cash and making sure that we were secure. We didn't go overdrawn one day this year, which I think is, again, quite a feat. We've ended, you know, we've got 50 odd million in the cash, a 70 million pound unused facility and a 10 million overdraft. So we've got 130 million pounds worth of liquidity. And that puts us in a reasonably strong position to move forward and work on our gross margin and our building of gross margin. What you will find with me is, in my mind, sales are vanity and profit is, you know, I'm here to make money for you, for me, for all of us. And I, you know, I'm as vested in the success and profitability of this company as, you know, as anyone, or more than anyone. So I am absolutely focused on that gross margin build and retain profit build. So, you know, looking at the Dr. Martens sort of float that's happening now, and look at the multiple and the valuation based on not a huge turnover, but actually a great profit relative to that turnover. That's where we've got to head. That's where we've got to go back to. So if you look back to my history 4 or 5 years ago and look at the numbers then, look, we're not going to, I can't tell you we're going to get back to those numbers, because I think that was, you know, 16% or whatever we were delivering. But actually, a return up that scale is where we're going to head.
I'm going to jump in here, Julian. There's two questions I'm going to loop in together. I think one thing is sort of just digesting the results yesterday. Quite frankly, Superdry is probably our favorite reopening investment right now. But the one thing that gave me pause was not seeing e-com accelerate while you have more days closed on physical. So can you talk a little bit about what's happening there? I know that there's a Brexit issue, but then the second thing related to this, great question came in, is sort of in a very weird environment. How do you actually gauge that the turnaround is working and that you're hitting progress that makes you have confidence, or makes you actually think that we need to rethink how we approach things?
So I'm very confident with the approach. So the period between Black Friday and Christmas, retail combined, was positive. And then the periods that actually dragged it down a bit, we switched off what was called out of region fulfillment, which basically meant that e-com customers could only look at what was in their localized warehouse and not cross warehouse. So that lops quite a lot of SKU count, a lot of options off the choice. And that's because Brexit was blocking up the ports, and our customer service numbers were you know, the complaints of customer services were going through the roof. And I thought, well, actually, do you know what? And it says the difference between me and probably somebody else. Somebody else would have gone, to hell with it, let's just take the sales number. And I go, do you know what? Let's protect the brand. Let's protect the customer. Let's make sure that we can deliver a service, and we will deal with the fallout afterwards, if you like, in terms of city expectations. But you know, I think the 5+ points of gross margin that we're achieving more than a year ago online currently is quite a good indicator of where we're headed.
So you measure the success of the turnaround really on gross margin improvement first, and then comps sales next, right?
Yeah, because like anybody can put something on sale. You know, don't judge a company on its sales numbers. Judge it on its profitability. You know, because that's ultimately where it has to fall.
I want to come back to improving the executive team, and specifically with Justin and him coming on in the CMO role, and something that I kind of highlighted to our investors is like this brand historically, you guys used the orange, shopping bags, you had some celebrity endorsements, you really hadn't used, the advertising channel or the marketing channel at all. And I don't mean to say there wasn't necessarily coherent strategy towards it. So maybe,
Yeah.
you
So
can talk a little bit about Justin and what he's going to be doing for you.
Yeah. So in our growth period originally, it wasn't needed because everything had external branding. So it was self advertising, if you like. We're a much broader, bigger brand. So Justin coming in, and there was no investment in e-com marketing or e-com while in my absence. So when I left, we were actually quite well, or when I was there, we were quite well placed e-com wise. That quickly dissipated in my absence to being lagging way behind. So they talked about social, but there was no social strategy as such. So we've really brought him in now because he's come from a pure play. He's come from Boohoo. He brings in an influence and understanding of how that relationship between an influencer and a brand works. So Neymar is just an example, but Zara Larsson, Hero Fines, and a bank of people who you never have heard of within Europe, and it's Europe first, and then we will come to America. And we've got about 100 influencers now, I think it is, that are promoting our product. We hadn't done that, so social, has really become part of our language where it wasn't before. And the next part of our language is sustainability after that, because for us that is the next big implementation, if you like, of where we're going as a brand. So sustainability, the organic journey, we intend to be the most sustainable listed clothing company in the world. Now obviously we've got Patagonia on the left, but they're not listed. So can we catch Patagonia up? Well, actually, we believe we can. So, we're on a journey to be 100% organic by 2030 with all our cotton. I am trying to reduce that date now to, I'm hoping, 2025. Now we are working out when that, how can I make sure that happens? And it's about converting another probably 18,000 farmers in India to becoming organic, because we take them on the journey. We use something like 30 million plus plastic bottles in recycled within all our jackets. So about 40-ish% of our products are actually sustainable already. Vegan trainers that I'm wearing currently, so it's part of our journey. We're just about to communicate it really fully to our consumers. But I think both our consumers, especially the 14 to 15-year-old consumer, for them it's really important that this is achieved. And obviously Patagonia probably isn't the brand for 14 to 15-year-olds because it's not made for them. But so we have a real great position to talk to them in the language that they want to be spoken to, deliver the products that they want to, with the sustainable bent that they actually need to feel good about themselves. It is becoming more and more important. And I think also for the investment community, if I'm not wrong, that is a journey that they are going on too. So 10, 15 years ago, internet would have been the thing that you all went, oh, that's the one that's going to get all my money. Then you'll go, then it was social, who's got the best social strategy. And I genuinely think the next phase of this thought process will be sustainability and who is number one in that world. So you can see with Tesla, what that can do to a company. Its valuation relative to its peers seems irrational, but that's what can happen. So I'm, it's something that's inbuilt in me as a human being. I've been organic for about 40 years. So it's very much part of our DNA.